Mark, do we have any public comment? Do you know?
I checked with Selena late this afternoon, nothing at that time, Heidi.
All right, thank you. And I didn't receive anything either. So we'll just go right into the principal's report.
All right. Thank you. So thankfully, this has been a little bit of a...
Jandria, I apologize for interrupting.
No,
Heidi,
Yeah.
did you do the approval of the minutes?
Oh, no, sorry.
I'm sorry. Yeah, if we could just circle back and do that, that'd be great. Thank you. Sorry.
Yeah. All right, sorry. I need a motion to approve the minutes. I don't even have the agenda in front of me. I'm so unprepared right now.
From
March 11th.
March, what was it? 7th?
March 11th.
11th. Okay. So I need a motion to approve the minutes from March 11th.
I move that we approve the minutes from March 11th.
Second.
Okay, was that Jessica Stewart?
Yes.
And a second from Roger.
Perfect.
Okay, so we'll go down the rolls. Jessica Bass,
Approve.
Jessica Stewart,
Approve.
Roger St. Amon,
Approve.
Carrie Hayes,
Approve.
and I approve. Okay, good job, guys. Thank you. Unanimous. All right, go ahead, Jandria.
Thank you so much. So, all is well in our world at Tremont School right now, which is really lovely. March is a wild and crazy time of year every single year. And I think that's probably not just in schools, but just life in general, and winter in Maine. March is a long month, but we came through it strong, and I'm just super proud. Every single time we have these meetings, I just want to recognize our students for just being awesome. We have such great kids at Tremont, and in all of our schools really, but and our teachers and our staff just are absolute rock stars. We would be remiss to not recognize the Tremont community and parents as well, who just continue to support our school, and we love them very much and cannot wait until we can at some point see them all again. So I just want to start by saying that. In terms of what's going on at Tremont lately, we have spring activities and extracurricular activities that are underway. Track, baseball, and softball have just gotten started. We have Chris Harper, who's coaching track, Max Mason, who's coaching baseball, and Ben Jacobs coaching softball. Garden Club is about to get started up here pretty shortly, and likely the recharge program again, but that has not started up yet. So lots of fun things going on to be able to get kids active and outside and get them engaged with one another. We had kindergarten screening today, which is probably one of the highlights of the year when we get to see new little Wildcat faces that come in, and they are so excited. They did such a wonderful job. So thank you to all of the families who made the time to come out today, and were really, really respectful and amazing with all of the safety protocols that we had in place. Thank goodness it was a gorgeous day, and we were able to do some parent meetings in person, but outside with distance and everything. So it went very well. We had 16 students, or incoming students, who were part of the screening today. And we're just really excited to be able to talk more with their families about how to help them move forward with the very beginning of their education. Just to note, I think something that's important is just that most all of our staff have had their first vaccine, and by the end of the week, most of them, myself included, will have had our second doses. And again, I later on, I recognized just the teachers and the staff in this report for, we really have not had a ton of absences, and people have come in saying, I'm not quite myself today, but I know I'm not sick and I feel well enough to want to be here with all of my kids right now. So I need to just, again, praise the staff for pushing through when they're not feeling great and being there, because they care about the kids and they care about making sure that their colleagues have support. I want to just talk a little bit about, so Bob Stewart from the Maine College Circle comes every year to talk to our 6th grade class, and they discuss their future and the possibilities for higher education, if that's what seems right for them. And so we did a virtual visit with him this year, and he always takes times to talk to the students individually. He asks each one of them to think about, where do they want to see them? Where do they see themselves in a few years? And what are their goals and what are their interests? And then he just simply talks to them about what sorts of higher education opportunities are there, what colleges might tailor exactly to their interests. And he just kind of sprinkles the possibilities out there for students, and they really enjoy it. They get really engaged, and it's exciting to hear them talk about their futures. We also, I'm sure that you've noticed, have seen the posters that are all over the MDI communities. That's just a connection to the MDI promise that we've been sending out and wanting to just encourage families to continue to stay committed to the prevention strategies that we've had in place all year and just finish the school year out as strong as we possibly can with all of our students in person. So thank you all for helping us out with that. In terms of academic updates, do we have Julie with us? I can only see a little window right now because I have two screens going.
Not at this time. I don't see her.
Okay,
LinkedIn.
okay. She was, at last I heard from her, she was planning to join us, and she was going to talk a little bit later on when we get to the pre-K MOU. She'll touch base a little bit on that. But she also was going to just share a little bit of a data presentation. So if she doesn't pop on now, then maybe we can pause and let her do that when she does join. We've had parent-teacher conferences are going on this week, and some are spilling over into next week due to vaccination schedules and whatnot for people. So we just wanted to be proactive in making sure that if anybody did end up missing a day, that they didn't have to reschedule a bunch of conferences. So we spread that out a little bit. A couple of other things that have just gone on recently. Third graders have participated in several Acadian National Park virtual field trips, and they were able to still do the Junior Ranger certification program this year. They did that virtually as well, but it was really great that Acadian National Park was so accommodating and quickly turned those things into something that students could still have access to, even though it wasn't in person. And our 5th and 6th graders did a virtual author visit recently, thanks to Island Readers and Writers support, with a Maine-based comic creator, Ben Bishop. He is an illustrator. I don't know if any of you are familiar with the graphic novel version of Lost on a Mountain in Maine, but he is the illustrator for that. And so he was able to meet with our 5th and 6th grade ELA classes and talk to them just about the creation of those graphic novels and the art behind that, but also just a little bit more about the process of writing and creating comics and graphic novels, which the kids were really excited about. Just scrolling down through here, I don't want to ramble, but I want to share with you what's important. In terms of staffing updates, we have received a couple of letters of resignation for next year. So we know we're going to be looking for, and some we're already advertising for, we're going to be looking to fill a few EdTech 3 positions, as well as our middle school math and science positions. So you'll see those that are advertised. We are advertising both of the middle school math and science. They're advertised as middle school math/science. And that is because if we're lucky enough to find people who are dually certified, that gives us more flexibility with how we group kids in the middle school and our schedules and whatnot. So that's what we're hoping for, but that may not, that will be based on the candidate pool and finding the right people. Just so that the community is aware, I've put it in the newsletter. Miss Susan from our main office is out right now recovering from foot surgery, so we wish her all the best. Mr. Horning is out on paternity leave right now. We also wish him all the best. We've had Heather Davis, who has been working with Ann Dalton for her internship to become a guidance counselor, and she's been with us for the last few weeks. And we're also currently advertising for a speech language pathologist. So lots of exciting new changes, but certainly some sadness as we think about having to say goodbye to some people that we've really loved having around and who have been incredible in our school. Not super exciting things happening with facilities, so I can let you kind of read through that on your own. Doing some sweeping of the parking lots, so enjoy reading about that. I've just linked in there. I just want you guys to be able to see the wellness. Amanda McLaughlin is our wellness ambassador. She's been doing a really incredible job of motivating staff and whatnot, putting out monthly challenges. And I figured, why not share that with other people? You guys might enjoy some of those activities as well. Then there's just some recognition of staff and whatnot there. Some of them I've already mentioned, and I do just want to make sure to thank Ashley, Stanley, Sue Hodgson, Ann Dalton, Kelsey Squires, Susan McIsaac, and anybody else, Iris and Elaine, for helping to get kindergarten screening. moving ahead smoothly. And then just down below, there's some updates from PTO. There is an apparel sale, a Tremont School apparel sale going on right now as a fundraiser. So if you're interested, I've linked in the minutes there, and I'll put it in our newsletter, and I think it's on our website too. A link to Tremont apparel. And then there's some updates just for extracurricular, but that is my report at this time.
Okay, any questions for Giandria or comments? Roger?
So it's kind of sad to hear about the loss of the middle school science and math teacher. That seems to be a struggle we've been having for several years. And I don't know if you have any insight into either that position, or it just happens to be just the way it's kind of rolled out.
So I would just say, so the math position, we knew going into it was going to be, we'd hired David Lane as a 1-year sub. And so we knew that at the end of this, we would be reopening that position. Everybody has the opportunity to apply for that position, anybody who's interested. And so that was something that we knew going in. We were going to be looking to just figure out who is the right person there. And you know, Mr. Lane may choose that that's something that he wants to continue to try to pursue. And then we work through the hiring process to find the right person. So he's enjoyed being in that position. I know that for sure. And then as far as the science position goes, Miss Siddons has been absolutely remarkable. She's been an asset to our school this year. And I think that she's just found as a first-year teacher that she loves teaching science, but the classroom is not exactly where she sees herself down the road. So it is certainly a shame. She's been absolutely remarkable. We wish her all the best. But we've had some candidates start to put in applications already for both those positions. So I'm excited to get a chance to look at both of those.
Anybody else? Carrie?
I'm not sure if this is something we're allowed to even know about, but what's the participation like for the vaccinations amongst the staff and the teachers? Is everybody getting vaccinated, or?
I would say that nearly all staff members. Mark, I don't know.
Yeah,
how
Mark's
specific to
hands
be, but
up,
I would
yeah.
say-
It's
right ahead.
you know something, I actually have an email drafted, and it's a great question. The short answer is we can't require our staff tell us, and we're not going to ask that. So I'm crafting a message through the nurses, and you know, I meet with those guys weekly. Jandria is part of that group, where we're going to ask people to voluntarily, if they're comfortable, tell the nurse. It's confidential, just so we can report out a percent. We don't need to know who, or, you know, we're not trying to invite it. And so it's just about the words that we use, because principals have been reporting through nurses that, like, for example, the other night, Connors Emerson, I think Barb said 97% of her staff, something in that order. And so, you know, we don't need to know the names, nor should we, but I think it's important that we have an idea so that the community and our colleagues know. And so that's the approach we're going to take, Carrie. It's a great question.
Mark, I would just add to that so at the beginning of we were able to start vaccinating teachers, we were able to put out a message to them just saying, if you feel comfortable letting us know, that would be really helpful so that we can plan ahead in terms of coverage. And our staff was great. They were more than willing to be forthcoming. I think they're very supportive of people getting vaccinated and helping this go smoothly. So people were very forthcoming with that information. And I can just say that it is a very high percentage at Tremont that have chosen to.
I would jump in, Carrie, and I'm confident. I don't have numbers in front of me, but I'm confident it's well over 90%, probably in the high 90s at all of the locations. And to that point, I mean, at first when this rolled out, we were trying to get information. I haven't heard a peep from anybody about, I can't get an appointment. I mean, it's been very, very smooth. And I think if you look at what the state's been doing in terms of phasing in other age groups and you know, accessibility is important. Now the message is encouraging people to do the right thing. So yeah, we'll have more information for Monday's meeting on that as well. Thanks.
Anybody else? I'm scrolling. Scrolling through my screen.
Heidi, can I
Yeah.
want to add one thing.
Yep.
Just to tag along to a question Roger had and, specific to Chrissy Siddons. I do, when we get to the probationary and the nomination and election, I just want to note that it would have been my privilege to nominate Chrissy, but she decided to choose a different path. I think it's important the public know that because we have a very rigorous process. Jandria had great confidence in her, and so that when we get to the election of those individuals, not having Chrissy's name on that list is in no way indicative of the contributions she made at Tremont. Number one, and number two, Roger, I think. It's interesting because the middle level science is a tough nut to crack. And I say that only because that's where I started my career. And even when we're trying to find people who are dually certified in life, physical, and top that off with math, I'm confident that because of the location and the school, we'll get great candidates. But there are some folks that like to shift, into different career paths. And I do know too, from a science perspective, me starting out, I got my feet wet and I did 3 years with middle level kids and loved them, but I knew that I needed to move to the high school quickly. So I think we'll find some excellent candidates. So they're out there. And I think our location and the school and the community we have is a really, really strong suit.
Right. Everybody wants to move to Maine now. So.
This
And
is a tiny-
Tremont, look, it's growing. We're going to talk about growth, but look, numbers aren't getting smaller, right, Jessica Stewart?
No, they're not. They're getting bigger. We have a population boom here. But probably this work has already been done, but is there a process where people like Chrissy Siddons are interviewed about why they're not, what about that job makes
Absolutely.
it so?
Everybody that, everybody that either resigns or retires, I sent a letter, I offer them an exit interview, and I actually got a powerful email from a teacher. I did one last week, and it's been some of the best stuff I've done. It's very informal, but I share that information, anything of note that they allow me or give me permission to share with the principal. But yes, I am actively doing those, and I'm offering that to anyone, doesn't need to be a teacher, anybody in the district that would like to sit down and have a conversation.
And I just want to note also that, so our advertisement for those positions does say math/science, and but it's not required that people are duly certified. It just is, it gives us flexibility if we are able to find the right people who are, but that does, we do not want that to limit candidates.
Anybody else?
Just is that, thank you, Heidi. Is that two positions, math and a science, that need to get filled?
So it is, and again, that comes back to so Chrissy making the choice to move on, and then knowing that the math position that we were going to, when David started, I think it was almost the end of October when he started. You might remember that I was the middle school math teacher for a little while this year. So when David started, it was partway through the year, and so we decided to move forward with a 1-year position. So he was given a 1-year contract to get through that, knowing that if that was something that he enjoyed, that he would have the opportunity to reapply in the spring with the pool of candidates, and have we would move forward from there. So it was just that's just the process that we had decided to go through at that time in the fall.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, I'm seeing none. So we'll go ahead and go on to subcommittee updates.
So we've been meeting regularly, Heidi, with policy. We have another meeting coming up in April. We're in our cycle of review right now, normal cycle of review, that we would have that rotation, but we're also going through things from Maine School Management and from Drummond Woodson, who took a look at our policies and just trying to update those things. There's a slate coming forward for second reading on Monday. Calendar, I know we're going to talk about that, but that's going to be an active ad hoc committee that will be stood up. And I hope there's representation from, I'm sure there'll be representation from Tremont. But, when we talk a little bit about the calendar, we try to find that blend based on the feedback, and we'll be able to go into that. But more importantly, moving forward, because we really talked about 3 scenarios at this point, it's going to be, I think, essential that you get board members, administrators, teachers, the community needing to process well before or by January of next year. So we know going into the following calendar year where we want to be. And Jandria has raised a really, really important question and continues to do that. Is like, where are we trying to be? What are we trying to accomplish with this? And I want to emphasize there's 2 essential pieces around that with the calendar, is that we're not trying to fix planning time with the calendar. We're not trying to make it worse, but planning time is a different animal. It's part of the collective bargaining agreement. We recognize this an inequity. So there's that piece. And then the schedule of the day, there's that piece. But what we're trying to really find out is, what do our teachers need? As a district, if we're committed to standards-based teaching and learning, what does that mean? What's the requirement? What are the resources? And more importantly, showing the community the data of where our kids are at. And I think when people see that, they're going to be pleased. I've been pleased with the results and the reports I'm seeing. I know people are really focused or concentrated on potential for regression and where kids are at, but I think you'll see that the data reflects that our kids are doing great, our teachers are doing great, and our communities are going to be okay. That said, the calendar subcommittee will be really, really important, and I hope at a minimum, gender is a voice in that. Let me see. We've got the anti-racism task force, so I know Jessica's been active in that. That'll be coming up. But outside of that subcommittee, you're going to see a recommendation coming forward on Monday to the AOS through a group of people that meeting. I think they met 6 times. Carrie was part of that group to talk about the possibilities of potential restructuring, and just I hope going into it, people just take a step back, breathe, because this is not about taking away local control. I want to underscore, it really is about how we can be most efficient and maintain the things that have been really valuable to communities. So you'll see that coming out to the board and discussing Monday night. I don't know if there are any other subcommittee updates, any of the board members or Jandria. That's all I have at this time, Heidi.
Okay. I don't think there's anything else. Anybody have any questions about any of those?
And so when you get to anti-racism, I think Jessica would be the best source of information on an update there.
Yep. All right. So we'll just roll right into that. Jessica, go ahead and take it away.
We have been meeting regularly and working in some subgroups, one on restorative practices, and we've been sort of trying to work with the policy or get it coming up on the upcoming agenda to work with the policy committee to make sure our work on that is aligning, that everybody's, and the members from the restorative practices subgroup have been meeting with the collaboratory, which I think Jandria is in, and Kelly Clark from Pematic and some other people.
Liz Rabaska from Tremont is also part of that.
Yes, so to make sure all of our boats are moving in the same direction. And then there's we've been doing some work at white allies and BIPOC members to sort of work on more interpersonal manifestations, and we have hopefully a letter to the editor forthcoming about our work so that people will know what the AOS is doing.
Thank you. Any questions for Jessica?
Thanks for that great work.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you so much.
All right. So discussion. So we'll go ahead and go into discussion items. I don't think we have anything for discussion except for the budget.
No, you've got, Heidi, sorry to interrupt. You've got pre-K MOU, Memorandum of Understanding, and
I didn't
Andrea
see
can give
that.
you an overview of that, if that's okay.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, sorry.
So I don't know, have you folks had an opportunity to read through that memorandum?
just now.
Okay. Okay. So it would be great, like if you guys get a chance to read that through that more thoroughly, because that's something that eventually we would need to vote on. And so I can say I've been meeting, I don't know, for the last month and a half to 2 months, probably, a couple of times a week to do some planning with two different groups around the pre-K, the proposed pre-K. And so on Wednesdays, I meet with Julie Meltzer and Rhonda Fortin, and we do some planning of our own. And then on Friday afternoons, we meet with a committee that was originally formed last year, and Ashley Stanley and Jessica Bass are part of that committee from Tremont. And we've just been working through a timeline of what do we need to try to get in place, including a survey that has gone out to gauge interest. So far, I think there are 17 people that have replied to that survey from both Tremont and Southwest. Rhonda and I next week are planning to do an interview with Chris Popper just to make sure that we answer any questions that we've seen coming in from that survey, and so that we can kind of just help to begin to shape what we see this proposed pre-K looking like, and so that people can make a more informed decision when it comes time to potentially register their children. So the memorandum of understanding here is essentially very similar to like the memorandum of understanding that we have with the community center with the town of Tremont. It just outlines the goal is to partner in creating a collaborative public pre-K program. It runs through the responsibilities and what Tremont School agrees to, which is paying for half of it, providing transportation for Tremont students, supporting myself to collaborate with Rhonda on the hiring process and observation and supervision and all those things. Southwest has essentially the exact same agreements, except for they would provide a classroom at no cost to Tremont School. And then there's also an agreement in there with Child Development Services to be able to work with us to provide services for any public pre-K students who would be enrolled in the program.
Just
And-
one thing to add real quickly, Heidi and board members. This is almost a mirror image of an MOU that we have with our partners over in Trenton. We've had that MOU in place with that pre-K program for several years. So it's, and ultimately, the things that bind the board are the fiduciary pieces, the budget. So you maintain control here. It is exactly what Jandria has described. It's a memorandum of understanding. So, you know, you still have, all parties have the opportunity to step back if they would like.
Yep. So essentially, you know, the CDS part is through some sort of a screening process, which we talked about in one of our most recent meetings, and we'll talk about again on Friday, I'm sure, when we meet, is just screening students to figure out if there are any needs that we can, or any areas that they could use intervention in, and then be able to work with CDS to help get those interventions in place early on, which is what we're most excited about for pre-K, is to be able to get to know students, figure out who they are as individuals, and then be able to give support and help them to grow and develop early on, so that by the time that they're starting their full academic career and in kindergarten, they've had some experience and they've had some intervention, and they just are really ready to be successful. And I think it's super important to just continue to reiterate that process in the early years especially looks entirely different for any child. And we've had families that have reached out and said, I'm not sure if my child is ready for kindergarten yet. However, I'd like to consider possibly registering them or expressing interest. At this point, we don't have a registration out yet until we get voter approval. But just, you know, I'm really impressed and pleased to hear that families are really thinking about their child's need, and the fact that this could be a 2-year or 3-year program for kids combined with kindergarten, that you know, the gift of giving kids the gift of time to be able to develop when they're ready to, and move into their education when they're ready to, is really helpful, and only benefits that child, that if they're not rushed through something. And we see when they are given that gift of time that they are just more successful and more confident, and that's a really great thing to be able to watch. So I think that is about it. We are discussing what a schedule would look like. And part of that is we need to know what the calendar is going to look like before we can really officially decide what a schedule would look like. But we're trying to, and the number of families that show interest help us to determine what type of a program would we be offering. And so we have talked about Tremont in the morning, Pematic in the afternoon, and then partway through the year, you switch that so that it's a combined program in that way. However, if we don't have and with this being the potential first year for a program, or next year being the potential first year for a program, it takes time to build a program for people to see something as successful. And then, and there's also families that already have their children enrolled in pre-K programs and may choose to keep them there. So it may be a year or two before those kids kind of age out, go into kindergarten, and then you see that families are all prepared for a free public program. Or so anywho, with that being said, we've had conversations about the 5 half days. We've had conversations about, depending on numbers, would we be able to do 5 full days potentially, where it's just a combined Tremont and Pematic there at the same time? Would it be two or 3 full days? So, we're trying to kind of explore all options, and maybe you have one group that goes 2 days, Monday, Wednesday, and one group that goes 2 days, Thursday, Friday. We're just trying to consider all of the options. And there's a few factors that come into play that will help to determine what that can look like.
I know Carrie had a question. I saw her hand go up a couple times.
Also see me going, wait a minute, what side of my,
Sorry, I can't see you, Carrie, because I just have one person at a time right now. So
no problem. No, I didn't need to interrupt. I haven't seen much on the pre-K program, so I apologize. I'm new to the process on this, and so I do have a few things I'm curious about. Is this, I assume, just for the kids who are 1 year out from kindergarten?
So it would be for anybody who would turn 4 years old by October 15th, 2021.
Yeah, so 1 year out from kindergarten. And then if they had a birthday that was that they were eligible for kindergarten but chose not to send their kid to kindergarten, like Erin was a September birthday and I didn't send her, that child would still be eligible as well, correct? So it's possible they could do 2 years if they did that.
Exactly. And that's what we really hope that people are open to, is that for some kids, 2 years of pre-K might be best for them. And for some kids, they enter kindergarten and 2 years of kindergarten is what's best for them. And so, we just, from the very beginning, it's most important to set kids up to be successful and enjoy school. And then you see, as you move forward, that there's less interventions that are needed. There's less special ed referrals that are needed. And you just see that kids they're able to move forward successfully with their peers, and they're able to, they're just able to move successfully through their education. So I'm really pleased to hear. We have had some families who have reached out asking about that. And I think that that's really great that they're considering all of those options.
Great. Now, when the MOU says that the 2 schools are providing transportation, is that from the child's home, to and from the child's home, or are they getting to school on the school bus and then the vans are taking them over?
So they would, the proposal originally was that they would ride the school bus. But the survey that we've put out there shows that the majority of families have said they would not need transportation from the school. So in that situation, I think that, at Tremont, that might offer up then the flexibility for us to be able to use the vans for transportation, which makes things a little bit easier in some ways.
So when you say that, do you mean like if a child did need to be picked up, then the van might go to their house and pick them up?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'd be, I feel like if I had a 4-year-old, I might be a little leery about putting them on the school bus.
It's again, that is something that, like, we've talked with other programs about and whatnot, and that is, I believe, what Trenton is doing. Is I believe that their 4-year-olds do ride the school bus, and so and like I said, from what we're seeing so far, the majority of families are saying that they would transport their own child.
And how about is there any conversation with, say, like Harbor House Children's Center about supplementing the care?
Yeah, if we were to do a like 2 half-day programs where Tremont or Pematic goes in the morning and the opposite in the afternoon, and then partway through the year you might switch that because there's always the question around, are kids more ready to learn in the morning, and would the afternoons be more difficult and whatnot? So you want to provide equity there. But yes, Ingrid is part of the committee that meets. And Jessica Bass, please feel free to jump into if you have anything that you want to weigh in.
I was going to save you from that last set of rounds, but I was like, she's on a roll. Go for it.
So Ingrid is part of that conversation as well. And we've been in touch with other local daycare providers and pre-K providers and whatnot as part of all of this work. So depending on what the program ends up looking like and having for a schedule and how many kids are enrolled, then there may need to be something to supplement the other half of the day. Or if we ended up doing 2 or 3 full days, then then those partners may be able to help parents who might need childcare on those off days. But again, the majority of the results in the survey show that most families have said they would either prefer to have 2 or 3 full days of the program, or they'd be open to either half days or full days. So I think that there are only 2 people that responded that if it was not 5 full days, that they would not participate. So the majority are open to either option.
And last one, I promise. And maybe this is Mark or maybe Jessica knows. What is Trenton doing as far as full day or half day, and what's the feedback that they've gotten after a year and a half doing it?
Go ahead, Julie, but I can weigh
Julie's
in
in
and
here
tell
now?
you, we ran our pre-K program for many years in Westburg, and I have concerns about full days for those little guys. I really do. I have real concerns about doing full days for 4-year-olds.
The Trenton program is a full day program, follows the school calendar. They've had no problems. It's in conjunction in partnership with Head Start. So it's a little bit of a different curriculum and process, but they've had no issues with it being a full day. There's pros and cons of the full day, because if you have the full day, then you can sort of stretch some things out and you can have rest period, and you don't have such an off, you don't have the pressure to make the afternoon and the morning more similar.
You may want to have a conversation with a joint workshop that like you had before, Heidi, because I know Ingrid, Southwest had some questions, and Ingrid has some thoughts on this. And I think it's fair that you guys all, talk openly about this. And certainly the parent feedback is critical. Just an observation.
Great. Okay. I just know, when my kids were that age, I didn't have any choice. I was working single mom, and whether I wanted my kid to be in a program full day or not, they had to be so that I could feed them. So, there are going to be people out there who need some way of connecting the care throughout the day, whether it's us providing that so that they're at least on the same schedule as older kids, siblings and that, or, connecting with Harbor House or another daycare provider. So thank you. I appreciate it.
If it helps ease your mind at all, Carrie, it is one of the questions on the survey is like, what are your childcare needs, if it's going to be a full day or a half day? So that was on the survey, and most of the parents said, they're going to figure it out, or yes, I need help. And we wanted to make sure we're very clear that we weren't necessarily going to be able to provide that. We would help them say, here are your options. This is what we're willing to do, and who's willing to work with us throughout this program. So that was one of the questions answered on the survey.
And Harbor House has been very open to working with us as a partner, to giving a specific rate and we have talked with them about providing transportation both from there and to there.
Terrific. Harbor House is such a great asset to our communities. I mean, between the childcare and the aftercare and everything else, Ingrid always steps up. So that doesn't surprise me.
The majority indicated on here that they would not need that they would not need additional childcare. There's a few that said I will need to research options, but the majority have said they would not need additional childcare if it were either a half day or alternating days in that program. And again, we have had conversations around it depending on how many kids were to enroll if this gets moved through with our budgets, about is there the possibility of doing a 5-day program that is combined with both groups if the numbers are not too large. And we do have to kind of consider if we're under COVID restrictions again, then that requires a little more space than a typical year would. So that comes into play as a factor as well.
So we should definitely look at that as a future agenda item, maybe after the budget meetings for the town. Once every, if it gets approved, I think it would be important for us and for Pematic, the two boards to get together and have like a public forum again about that, just to have input and see where we're at, have a good, like a working session, see where we're at in the process. And I think that would be smart to have. Any other questions for Jandria or Jessica or Julie?
So I just want to, I'm sorry, I had to jump in late.
Yeah.
I didn't know, Jandria, if you had talked about the 2 parent sessions that we have on the books.
I have not yet. I was actually just about to say that when Heidi just mentioned that. So you go for it, Julie. I've talked enough. I'll let you.
We've scheduled for 2 nights in the week of April 26th, and then in the week following of May 3rd, to have a virtual parent forum about the program. We have to be very careful about committing to the shape of the program in terms of full days, half days, one program, half program, because we don't know that the survey has actually reached all the people who might be interested. And then on the other hand, as I did hear Jandria say, because it's the first year of a program, it could be that we'd have the nice option of just combining for a total of 14 kids. So we're still not sure on that, but we will be doing these parent information nights, and I hope that the board members might choose to attend and ask any questions and whatever. That will be more about what's the program. Yes, it'll follow a school calendar, and then Jandria and Rhonda are going to be doing an interview with Chris Popper to get the word out that this is happening, and give some information, and also advertise for those nights, so that hopefully we'll get a good turnout.
All right. Anybody else?
It's more of a comment than a question. I just really want to highlight just the forward thinking of both Mrs. Rhonda and Mrs. True. That's just combining forces and really working together to share those sources to help that next coming in generation. And a lot of these questions, I mean, when we talk about the discussions we've had, we are going over every detail to like, how do we get them to the potty? How do we get them here? Like, we are really going into the ins and out, and it's a really great group of people that are working together. So I would just say to anyone that's still having questions, to make sure you're reaching out to the right sources, because we probably do have the answers, and if not, we can work to get them for you.
Thanks for all your work on this, everybody. It's exciting.
Super exciting. Yeah.
All right. Any other questions before we move on? I want to make sure that we have, the full discussion that everybody wants to have on that.
I'll put under future agenda items, I'll keep the MOU on there, because at some point, if we get voter approval to move this forward, then we'll need to vote on that MOU, and I just don't want that to fall off our radar. So I'll keep that under future agenda items.
This is more of a comment, Heidi or Jandria, than a question. But as we talk to prospective voters about this, I mean, presumably they're going to vote for it, but it's just important for people to know, like, I forget what the figure is, but like for every dollar you put in on pre-K investment, it's like $7 or $8 that you get back. It's such an incredible return on investment. It's like the best money that you'll spend on your
7 to 1, Jess, you're right. It is 7 to 1 is the number.
Is that because of the lessening impact of, needing special ed and that kind of thing?
It's special ed, it's incarceration, it's social services, it's an underemployment support.
Interesting.
All right, anybody else?
I think the only thing I would add, Heidi, is just, I think what Jessica said a minute ago was really important, that we always hope on any issue that if the community has questions, that they give us a call and let us know, because the most accurate information you're going to get on any subject is usually from those of us that are working on these things. So I just hope the community, if they have any questions, please reach out to us directly, and we will be happy to answer what we can and try to find answers for you if we don't have them. So.
All right, thank you, guys. Thank you very much. So we'll go ahead and move along, unless we had any other, because I didn't see an updated agenda. So I didn't even see this on the agenda because I didn't get an updated agenda. So I just want to make sure that there's no other discussion items before we go into our action items.
So
There's
there
just
is.
space considerations that are on
Okay.
there, but there's no budget or anything like that. So it's just space considerations for the school.
Okay.
Maybe someone had a space thing to say. I wanted to offer that I'm happy to help with any sort of subcommittee or whatever about space, because I hear it's getting to be an urgent matter. But maybe you have a presentation, Jandria. I don't know.
I don't have a presentation of any kind right now. Mark, I don't know if you were just
I
about
just,
to write in, but-
if I may, Heidi, just a couple
Yes.
overarching comments, and then
Mhm.
this is not a new topic for the school committee or the community. I think you have a couple key pieces of information to consider. Number one, there was an enrollment study that was done. You have access to that information. That's really good data. It's I believe only 2 years out, but that generally gives you a 10-year projection. You know, we were kind of kidding around, but you can see with Jessica having her hands full, we're going to continue to see students, and we're going to need all of our schools. And we're at a point where you're simply out of space. And I had a conversation with Jandria about, if there are potential funds coming down the pike, additional funds up and beyond our budget, federal funds, can we allocate some of those for space? We're at a point where we need a portable. There's a lot of pieces. I mean, just in the 5 years I've been here, you guys have been talking about this issue, and a portable is a stopgap measure. I'm not trying to dissuade, but it is not going to correct the problem. And I think folks know that we need a plan. So I think it's important. And I say that only because, if you look at Connors Emerson, they've been in this process for the last few years and not ready to make a move. So there's a lot of things, a lot of balls up in the air, but the issue of space is not going to go away. Now, there are some things that can be done that will probably raise some eyebrows, and people have stepped up, but, and schools are doing this within our district and other places. And that is, dedicated rooms to individuals. It's great to be able to do that, but there are some things that we might have to do in the short term, dependent upon what our populations are in our community, to make sure that we're doing the best we can for kids. I'll throw this out. I taught science on a cart for 6 years. I moved to the kids. That's not optimal, but it can be done, and specials, but that's not where we want to be. I think it's important now to start getting the committee together to talk about, what does the community want? What does the data say? Where do you want to go? And so I just wanted to segue into that, is that the need is imminent. It's here. It's now. Whether it be storage, whether it be classroom, and I think it's important also to realize that the delivery of teaching and learning now looks very different than it did 10 years ago, 15, 20, just in terms of programming and things that we want and should provide to our kids. It's an outstanding school, and it's been well taken care of, very well taken care of. The board and the community have been good stewards of the facility. But if you look at the data, you need to do something. And I think that has to be a community conversation. I just want to underscore too, if the funds are available, we'll work with Jandria to address that piece. in the short term, but I do believe you want to have a long game and a long range plan. So thank you for letting me just give an overview. Jandria, please jump in if I've misspoken or if you have other thoughts. I just want to, I want to lend my support for the fact that you do need to address space, whether it be pre-K, storage, or any other facet of your building.
Yeah, thank you, Mark. So I am real concerned about space next year and being able to keep everybody in their classrooms that they're currently in. Looking ahead at just some new students that are coming in. We've talked already. We've got a Sun teacher in the budget to be able to provide programming. There is a room that's going to be needed for that. We have some people that shifted around this year who will need to go back to different spaces or will need to have a space back for next year. We still have some classrooms that are going to be large, and we don't know yet what space requirements are going to be needed. I anticipate that we're still going to be wearing masks next year, and I anticipate that we're still going to need at least 3 feet of distance when we go back to school next year, and probably 6 feet if their masks come off to eat. So with that being said, I am very concerned about being able to fit some of our classrooms into the classrooms that are currently available for them. And in order to be able to do what we need to, I am truly concerned that we're going to have enough space without asking some people to be on carts. And so I don't have a full plan yet as to what that will look like, because there's some things that need to shake out, but I will be very surprised next year if we do not have to steal some space in order to be able to accommodate for all of our students and all of the needs and all the programs that we have. So I just have to be brutally honest with people so that you really understand that, that I don't, and that's really hard that puts added stress on teachers, because they get their planning time. And I don't mean to harp on planning time, although I'll tell you what, they need it. But they don't get their planning time if the students don't leave their classrooms. And I can tell you right now that the last couple of days, we have not had a room available for student evaluation and testing to take place. And I've given my office up and I've gone to sit sometimes on my bench or in a random place, so that for a couple of hours, my office can be used, because there is no other space available for somebody to come in and work individually with a student. All of our rooms are being used. And when I say all of our rooms, I mean like what is a makeshift teacher's room right now has a divider in the middle of it, and there's people on both sides working on different things. And there's a table that we moved into what is the main office waiting area, where teachers are sitting down there in the main office waiting area, and nobody comes in and out of our building except for staff this year. So that's okay, but we're utilizing every square inch of our building, and any tables that we can put in a certain place, that's what we're doing. And I do not think that is going to get better next year at all. I think if anything, it's going to be more of a challenge, and we are already tapped out for space. So I just need people to have in their heads that, and kind of be prepared for the fact that I think some rooms are probably going to have to shift around, and we are going to have to make room for new programs, and there could be people who are not able to remain in their classrooms, so that we can make this all work. So this is a very real need to be able to plan ahead and figure out what we can do. And if there are funds that fall into my lap somehow, I would be happy to make that work for a while. But like Mark said, I do not think that anybody wants to move towards a portable. That is not an ideal not an ideal location to educate students in. So I don't think that's a long-term fix.
Heidi?
Jessica Bass.
Yeah. So I know this has been a conversation, discussion we've been having probably since as soon as I got on the board. So I do want to know, like, if we were to go ahead and get the committee going and get those, because we have talked about getting an architect and planning things out. I'm thinking that's a 3-4 year plan by the time we can actually put something else.
Mm-hmm.
And you're talking of next year. So realistically, what can we do to help you in that? The only option I'm seeing is a portable for next year.
Mm-hmm.
Is that what you're asking? Like,
Well,
'cause-
I'm not asking for that.
Right.
I'm saying like if the funds arrive, great. And that would be something that I would be willing to entertain for the interim.
Yeah.
But if the funds don't arrive and there's a decent chance they will not, then we have to work within the building that we have. And
Okay.
that is going to require some decent change in our building.
Okay.
And that, you know, that is not what I'm looking forward to. But that is, you know, that's what is reality.
Anybody else? I do want to just say that, I mean, this has been a conversation we've been having for years now, you know, before the pandemic, it's been 5 or 6 years. I mean, we had that study done, and that report out, we had that, we knew there were projects that needed to be done, they were dealt with. We never got a future plan. So Jandria, for next year, I am worried as well. I mean, I know at the beginning of this year, we talked about it with the pandemic, first of all, and having to house all these kids safely and according to all the rules that we had to do. And that was tough enough as it was, never mind going and having, okay, so now we're going to have a class of 16, 17, maybe 18 kids in kindergarten, next year. And how big is the 8th grade class this year?
What do we have? I don't remember if I think it's 15.
Is it 15?
I'd have to double check the exact number. Let me see.
15, as if yep. According
It's
to
a decent sized class. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's one of our bigger classes right now.
Okay.
We originally had 18 students signed up for kindergarten next year. I've considered the possibility. We know that 3rd and 4th grade is slated to be the largest group that we have next year. I had considered the possibility of flipping some classrooms so that 3rd and 4th grade could be in some larger classrooms. However, if we have a large kindergarten class, I can't justify switching classrooms at that point. And so, 3rd and 4th grade this year have been spread out over 3 classrooms. We had an additional, then we'd have to pull in, we have that 1-year position that we put in the budget for an extra teacher if we need that. But that is not an ideal situation to have somebody come in for 1 year to teach a class for 1 year that is not necessarily part of that team. They would, our team would certainly be welcoming, but it's just not, and it's a 1-year fix. It's not an ideal situation. And, I want to be able to provide the best that we possibly can for our students. And what would be the most ideal is to be able to have 3rd and 4th graders with the 2 3rd and 4th grade teachers in classrooms. And right now, I'm not sure that's realistic or possible. And if our kindergarten class turns out to be closer to 20, I don't think you can fit 20 kids in that. It's a big room, but I don't think you can fit that many kids in there at 3 feet apart. And then we're having a whole nother conversation. So thankfully we're not at 20, but we could creep close to that. So
I think for next month, you should sit down and think about alternatives, plans where, if money fell into your lap, options. And then if not, what would need to go on in the building. And that would be a good idea. So, because we'd already have voted on the budget, the town would have passed the budget, hopefully. And, then we could sit down and think, okay, this is where we're at. This is what we need for next year.
Mhm.
So that would be good for next month after the voting, for you to be able to sit down and have that discussion with the board and about what the possibilities are and what it's, financially what it looks like.
right.
Um,
Thank you for listening to that.
I it's not going to be as helpful for the emergencies of next year, but it does seem like we ought to get this subcommittee cracking, because even if next year's problems are resolved through some sort of magic that you walk through the building and make the rooms grow or something. I know you have many skills, Andrea, I feel like, but we will still, it's not something we can put off. So I'm happy to help convene that or get that going, but it does seem like we got to kind of make that happen for the future years at a minimum.
And I know we had discussed that, and with the pandemic the way it was and budget season, and it didn't feel like it was a good time to start that. But definitely it's something I've wanted to do for a while, and we just haven't had the resources. We haven't had the ability or the members to be involved in that. And I'm glad to see that we do now. So I think that is very important to get started. But again, a lot of it depended on budgeting, and I didn't want to start big things until we had at least this year behind us.
Yeah.
So, but
I'm
that's definitely something to get going in the very near future. Carrie?
I'm also willing to be part of that committee if you need some more.
And we have to remember that if we do a subcommittee, we cannot have 3 board members on it. It would have to be less than 3 because 3 is a quorum. And anytime you have something like that, minutes have to be taken. It has to be publicized if you have 3 or more, according to the law, whatever the laws, governing school boards. So that'll be a discussion I think the board will have to have in forming that committee as to who's going to be on it. Like when I mentioned it before about having, different level teachers, staff members, and then public as well, and someone from the select board. It's important to have all those in place. So you guys will definitely have to think about that and plan that going forward. Anybody else? Okay. All right. So space is an issue. We know that. And so next month, Jandra, if you could, just lay out some scenarios and options, and so the board can look at those and discuss them. And are we good on this subject? I'm just scrolling to see if anybody has their hand raised.
Just,
All right.
Heidi, the next
Yeah.
item you have is your nomination and election of probationary
Okay.
staff.
Yeah, so we'll go right into action items then. And the nomination of an election of teachers. Jandra, who do we have?
I'm gonna actually, I've got it right in front of me,
Oh,
Heidi,
perfect.
and if it's okay,
Yeah.
I'll make those nominations.
Yep.
And certainly give Jandria an opportunity to weigh in. We have 2. The board can choose to take them as a slate or separately, but I'll go through them one at a time, and we can go from there. As I mentioned before, I just want to note again, Chrissy Siddons is not on this list, but that should not be reflective of the fact that she's just not returning. And, she did a great job for us this year. We would have been pleased to nominate her. My first nomination is moving from 2nd-year probationary status to 3rd-year probationary status, and that is Caroline Fournier. And I'm really, really pleased to nominate Caroline. She's been a great addition. She did a wonderful job in Bar Harbor at Connors Emerson and has done an amazing job at Tremont. And then Jandria, I don't know if you have anything you'd like to add on Caroline, but that would be my first nomination.
I could add so many things about all of these people, but Caroline's just been a remarkable addition to our school. She's a leader. She's somebody that her colleagues really enjoy working with, and she is just so natural with students. It's just wonderful to watch her engage with kids. It is just she's just in her element, and nothing shakes her. She can just kind of roll with the punches, and her students absolutely adore her. And we know that is really key for, the relationship between students and their teachers is incredibly relevant when it comes to their learning and their wanting to engage in what's going on at school. So Caroline is just an absolute gift to have at our school. And I'm grateful that she's looking to continue to stay at Tremont, because our students benefit immensely.
Heidi, do you want me to
Yep.
continue, or do you want?
Yeah, why don't we put
All right.
all the names out
All right.
there, and then we'll do.
There's only
we'll
one
do
more.
the group. Okay, yeah.
There's only one more, and also pleased to nominate Joyce Mahoney. Joyce, the librarian, doing an amazing job, and this nomination is moving from third year probationary status to continuing contract. And just want to add, I think the board knows this, but for the community's edification, that before we make these nominations, I sit with the principals, we go through, review the evaluations, which is a very important part of the process, to make sure that when I'm making the nomination, we really have the principal feedback, the principal input, and making sure that we're on the same page. We have a very rigorous process. We're proud of the people that we attract and can retain. And I just want to note that there is a process in place, and we always welcome feedback, but proud to bring these two names forward. Jandria, do you have anything to add on Joyce? I know you'll talk for a half hour because she's such a nice lady and
You nailed it.
does a great job.
So I think the first thing I want to just point out is that we have a certified librarian that we are moving from third year probationary to continuing contract. And that has been a while since Tremont has had that. So that's really exciting.
Yep.
Joyce brings our library to life. Her enthusiasm and love for what she is doing is contagious. The books that we have in our library right now are incredibly relevant. They are rich. The kids are excited to get their hands on them. She has them engaged in all kinds of activities. Right now, they're working on the Chickadee Awards, so she is reading to them or providing to the middle school any of the new Chickadee Award-winning books or the books that are going to be nominated for the Chickadee Awards. And she's really excited about the potential of continuing to work. I think it was last year, maybe the year before, that she started engaging more with the middle school teachers and involving the middle school teachers and in bringing the kids into the library as well, so that our library program wasn't just K-4. And she just has always made it really clear that she wants the library to be the hub of the school, and she wants it to be alive. She wants kids to be going in and out, and she just wants to make sure that what they have in their hands is just wonderful, rich literature. So she does an outstanding job. She connects with teachers on what they are doing in the classroom to be able to support that through what she's engaging with the kids in the classroom and in the library. And so her experience, she has many years of classroom teaching under her belt. And she is also just remarkable. I feel like we struck gold when we found these people. So.
Okay, so I think what I'll do, since we only have the two, we'll just go ahead and take them as a slate if that's okay with everybody. So I'll take a motion to move Carolyn Fournier from second year to third year probationary, and then Joyce Mahoney from third year to continuing contract.
Correct.
So moved.
Carrie, so moved.
Second.
Jessica Stewart, second. Okay. All right, we'll go down through. Jessica Bass.
Approve.
Jessica Stewart.
Approve.
Roger St. Amon.
Approve.
Carrie Hayes.
Approve.
And I approve. So that's unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you.
To
Congratulations to
Joyce
those
and to
guys.
Caroline and the whole Tremont staff. We have good eggs there. I love it.
Yep.
All
Can I
right.
just say, I love Joyce's enthusiasm for books so much that occasionally I've sent her an email about like a book I think would be good to get for the library, or a book, something about a book. And she always writes right back, and she's like, oh, it's so into it. And it's just really nice to have
Jessica, I
someone
would
to.
just add, she buys those books too. Like, she researches them, figures out if they're right. There are some that you've sent her emails about that I've been part of the emails, and they are now in our library. So we appreciate that, but she's responsive, and she really does her research to make sure that what's going into our library is brilliant to be going into kids' hands. So anyway, she's great.
And I think it'd also be important to note that her library right now is a second grade classroom, and she's still able to nail it the way that she has been. And that's major kudos to Mrs. Mahoney for that one. That's for sure.
Yep.
Okay, so we have that, and we'll go ahead. So we don't have another public comment anymore, but so future agenda items, we're gonna do the classroom, the class space. If you guys want to talk about the
Heidi,
subcommittee, yeah.
just to add, I want to just note, I sent something out on Blue Cross Blue Shield.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
which was good news. And the board, depending upon how the board would like to handle that, maybe a conversation with Nancy if the board chooses to make an adjustment through the select board. But I did send a grid out so you can see what the impact is in Tremont, and as well as through the entire AOS. So just let us know. I can have Nancy join at the next meeting and whatever the board would like. Thank you.
I think that, because I was thinking about that today when we got that email about the Blue Cross Blue Shield. I don't think the Tremont school board meets until after the town meeting.
So, yeah, you have, so I'm not sure the date of town meeting, January. Do you know the date right now?
I can look real quick. I think I want to say it's the 6th. I want to say it's May 6th.
I think it is
Okay.
May 5th or
Yeah.
6th.
Yeah,
So,
okay.
so we may need to have a quick special meeting to adjust that and to vote on that.
Yeah, and if you want to do that, that's going to require, obviously, it's really important to involve Nancy and Chris because it's
Yep.
making a lot of motions on the floor. And so it really depends on where the board wants to go. So I just wanted to put it on your radar. Thank you.
So we'll
Heidi,
definitely, yeah.
I'm so sorry that I'm interrupting you.
No, it's okay.
One quick thing, I got distracted when we were doing our action items there, but Julie is willing and prepared to be able to do a quick Tremont data presentation if you guys want. Originally, I had that highlighted as part of my principal's report, but if you guys are interested, she's happy to do that. If you want to put it on as a future agenda item, we can do that, but she is prepared this evening to do a quick data presentation if you'd like.
How does everybody feel about that? I just want to gauge how everybody feels. Do you guys want to do that, or do you want to save that for next month?
I'm totally fine either way. Putting it is fine. Doing it now is fine. It's 6:45. It was my fault because I was late. So I apologize.
I do have to jump off at 7, so I have
Okay.
another meeting.
Maybe
Okay.
let's put it
It's
on.
only going to be a few
Yeah.
minutes. Yeah.
It's only a few minutes.
Yeah, it is only a few minutes, but it's for next time. It's fine.
Okay.
Too.
Yeah. Let's save that for May till after, and if that's all right with you, Julie, if you don't mind, we'll save that for May.
It's totally fine.
Okay.
Thank you, Heidi.
Yeah. All right. So our next board meeting, like I said, I don't have the agenda in front of me. It's always
May
the second
13th.
Thursday of the month,
May 13th.
13th of May.
13th of May. Yeah. So typically it's always the second Thursday of the month. So I guess unless anybody else has anything else to add.
For next,
so
for next agenda items or in general?
In general, but I do know we will have to have a special meeting coming up to discuss that, the Blue Cross Blue Shield and the adjustment to the budget before town meeting. So I'll look at my calendar and figure something out. And that'll be a quick meeting. It's one discussion item, an action item. Well, really just an action item. So it shouldn't be a real long meeting because there wouldn't be anything else with that. Mark, is there anything you want us to add for that quick meeting or
No,
for
I think
for
that
May?
sounds good. I'll connect with Nancy,
Okay.
and we'll go from there. Thank you.
All right, thanks. Anybody else have anything to add? No. Scrolling through, I'm seeing head shaking. Okay. All right. So before we go ahead and adjourn, I just want to say thank you to everybody for making this last year a little bit more tolerable. It was really, really a really difficult year. But I want to thank you guys for being so involved and so this is my last official meeting and we'll have that special board meeting, but I just wanted to thank you guys for all your participation, for your support and for everything you guys have done. I know board members come and go and that's just the way of the world. And it's been a part of my life for 12 years now. And I've really enjoyed every minute of it. And thank you guys all for being a part of that.
Heidi,
Heidi,
go ahead, Jessica.
Oh, I wanted to thank Heidi for her service and I was gearing up to do that. And then I was like, oh, maybe we can do it at the special meeting, but I'm only sorry that we're not meeting in person, Heidi, so we could make you a cake or bring you flowers or whatever.
Well, I have to
Um,
say, it's actually the best place in the world for me to have my last meeting because I'm in Savannah, Georgia, and I'm going to see my son. So that's how I'm going to spend my last board meeting at post board
Yeah.
meeting.
Down
He
at
turned
Fort
21
Benning,
this week, so I get to spend some time with my new 21-year-old.
you down at Fort Benning?
No, he's at Fort Stewart.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So
Heidi, I was just putting two and two together when we were talking about the fact that May 6th is town meeting and our next board meeting will be the second Thursday. So
Mhm.
we would miss that and roles would change before then. So I won't be able to say a whole lot here. I'll probably have to talk to you personally at some point about my thoughts on this because nobody needs to listen to me tear up over again on a screen. But I would like to say thank you so much, both personally and professionally. It's just a pleasure to spend time with you, to work with you. You've been such a strong supporter of myself and our school, and you've come into this with no agendas of your own, only to benefit all of the students at Tremont School. You've been a tremendous leader. I know for a fact that the teachers have appreciated your support, and that we are going to be sad to see you go. So I'll stop right there and we can connect another time too.
okay. All right.
Heidi, I
thanks, Georgia.
said my
Yeah.
piece to you. You know
Yes.
that we exchanged the text. You know how I feel. But
Mhm.
as your superintendent, it's been a privilege and an honor to serve with you. And you are everything that's good and right about public service. And thank you for everything.
Thank
you've
you,
done
Mark.
for kids.
Thank
You're
you.
amazing.
Okay, so so I guess we can go ahead and take a motion to adjourn on that note.
So moved.
Who was that? Jessica Stewart?
Yes.
Okay, second,
Second, Carrie.
Carrie? Okay. I'll just go down through the roles one more time. Jessica Bass,
Approve.
Jessica Stewart,
Approve.
Roger St. Amon,
Approve.
Carrie Hayes.
Approve. And I also thank you for all of your service.
Thank you. All right, and myself. So we are officially adjourned and good luck you guys in the future, okay? Do Tremont proud. I know you will. All right,
Heidi, say hi to Anthony.
I will.
Have a
I'll
great
give him a hug
time.
for you.
Okay.
All right,
Have a great time in Georgia.
see you guys.
Bye-bye.